are likely not true. And that's a look at today's agricultural news. You've been listening to the Closing Market Report from Illinois Public Media.
Farm Week and FarmWeekNow.com journalist Dina Stroish connects rural routes for you. From the farm bill to crop insurance to GMO labeling, her expertise is apparent in the stories she reports. Here's a bit about her rural roots.
I get to meet interesting people and share their stories, and I get paid to do it. I cover ag policy and really enjoy keeping the farming community updated on these important issues.
Be it routes or roots, RFD Radio, FarmWeekNow.com, and Farm Week keep you connected.
From midnight snacks to holiday gatherings, food is a part of our culture that brings us together every day. To make sure we all have food on our tables, Illinois farmers are going beyond planting crops and raising animals. We're making sure the wildlife that helps our food grow has homes too. To learn more about conservation efforts, visit ilfarmersconserve.com. Preserving our water, protecting our land, providing our food.
This message brought to you by Illinois Farm Bureau.
You're listening to RFD Town & Country Partners, connecting you with the food you eat, the Illinois farmers who grow it, and the food-related events, destinations, and lifestyles that make our state great.
Welcome to RFD Town & Country Partners on a Friday. I'm DeLaw's Yonke. We go over to Jacksonville and at the University of Illinois Extension Office serving Calhoun, Cass, Greene, Morgan, and Scott counties. Ken Johnson is an extension educator in horticulture. Ken, how are you?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Hey, doing all right. You know, we'd love to talk about beautiful blooming flowers and so much of nature to enjoy. But instead, how about this topic? Ticks and mosquitoes. Some good spring discussions to have, right?
Yep. Yeah. As we start getting warmer and warmer, we're going to start seeing more and more of them.
Especially if it's going to just keep raining. You know, standing water here, there, and everywhere seems like pretty good breeding ground for mosquitoes, doesn't it?
Yep. Yeah. All of our mosquitoes are going to be breeding in water. You know, we start talking about our floodwater mosquitoes when we have areas that are flooded. Some of those eggs could have been in the ground for a couple of years. They're all going to start hatching out now. And anytime you have kind of that standing, stagnant water, you get some of your other types of mosquitoes breeding in there and stuff as well.
The eggs can last a couple of years. Is that what you said?
Say it's for some of the floodwater mosquitoes, so they'll lay their eggs on dry ground that will flood, and they'll just sit there until that area floods again and gets wet, and then those eggs will hatch out. Fortunately, those aren't. When it comes to mosquitoes that transmit disease, those aren't really all that important, the floodwater mosquitoes. But those are the kind of the large, really noisy ones that we commonly see quite a bit, though. Okay.
But still, it's amazing how things that are so fragile can also be so durable. Nature's just amazing that way. But we certainly are talking about a lot of different things here. West Nile comes to mind, but I'm sure there are a few others. Just the nagging bite is one thing, but the things that can come with that are also pretty, can be scary at times.
Yeah, so mosquitoes, there's several different diseases they can transmit to your West Nile. There's a couple different kinds of encephalitis, stuff like that, and we start getting into ticks and stuff. We've got Lyme disease and ehrlichiosis and all kinds of, spotted mountain Rocky fever, or Rocky Mountain spotted fever, and all kinds of other diseases that they can transmit as well. So it's not just kind of the annoyance. There's also the kind of medical potential to all this, too.
Sure. Now, I'm thinking about back on the farm. There were places, there were little potholes. We had gravel roads, there were places for potholes all over the place, and in the feed yards and so many spots where it was pretty hard to control. But certainly around the house, around the yard, there would be some control items we can do to try to minimize that as much as possible.
Yeah, so your container breeding mosquitoes, like your northern house mosquito, Asian tiger mosquito, those are our container breeding mosquitoes, and those are the ones that we're most concerned with as far as diseases go, transmitting diseases. Those can lay eggs in very little amount of water, so doing stuff like emptying out flower pots. If you have the saucers underneath of them, bird baths. If you have old tires or something like that, either dispose of those or drill holes in those so those aren't holding water. Some of these are able to lay their eggs, and the eggs can survive in as little as a cup of water. So you need to do a good job of cleaning up that standing water. Don't let water stand for more than 5 to 7 days, because they can go from egg to an adult in that short of a period of time when we start getting warm temperatures.
Boy, old tires, that brings back some memories about stuff that was lying around in the shed. So that could have even been under the roof of the shed. Somehow there was a little bit of standing water in those old tires.
Yep, yeah, if you get enough water in there, they'll find it, and they'll start laying eggs and reproducing on you.
What about bleach? Is bleach an option if you're not going to dump the water or replace the water? Is bleach an option at all?
That'll help kill it. The best bet's going to be to empty it. Just because if more water gets in there, it's going to start getting diluted. So dumping it, if you have, kind of a small, kind of ornamental backyard pond, something like that. Not talking like big farm ponds or anything like that. There's mosquito dunks, stuff like that for larger bodies of water that you can put in and stuff like that.
Now, I don't know about an above ground pool. If we had a swimming pool, hopefully there's enough motion in there. If it's treated properly, would that necessarily be a problem?
As long as you're keeping your pools cleaned and treated, that shouldn't be a source of mosquitoes. It's when you start getting your abandoned pools or stuff that aren't maintained, aren't treated, then they can start becoming mosquito breeding areas.
Yeah, because some of these things, though, like a bird bath or a wading pool, that you want to attract certain creatures. You certainly don't want to attract the ones like we're talking about, though.
Yeah, so I'd probably once, maybe twice a week, go empty those out and then refill those. That's kind of the easiest way. Just don't let them sit for weeks on end. As you start getting more kind of that organic matter built up in there, that water gets dirtier. It just makes it that much more attractive to the mosquitoes as well. Yeah,
just pick a day and say, well, it's Sunday. I have to remember to go dump the water, so you don't forget how long it's been sitting around.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then especially as we can get outdoors more, as the temperature's warm and spring activities, eventually summer activities, well, we don't have to go far outside the house either to have to worry about ticks.
Exactly, and ticks have been out for a while now. I've heard of people going on Easter egg hunts and stuff, getting covered in ticks. So, as soon as it starts getting above freezing, some of those ticks will start becoming active. Even typically we associate ticks with kind of forested areas or tall grass, but really anywhere we've got vegetation, there's a potential for ticks to be around. So, making sure you're cleaning up leaves and kind of plant debris, stuff like that, can help kind of eliminate some of those potential sites where they'd be hanging out.
Does that mean they could be in the garden, pretty much?
There's the potential. It's not as high as going out in the woods or tall grass, stuff like that. But if you've got a lot of kind of more unkempt areas where you don't really maintain all that much, there's a little higher chance that there'll be ticks in there. If you have got like a vegetable garden or something like that, and you're keeping that fairly well cleaned up, there's always the potential they're going to be there, but it's not going to be nearly as high as some other places.
Well, this is one reason to stay on the trail, isn't it? I mean, you don't want to worry about poison ivy. That's one reason to stay on the trail, but apparently ticks would be another reason then, too.
So, yeah, if you needed another reason, ticks would be another one. So, if you're out in the woods, tall grass, staying in the middle of trails, if you're outdoors, as far as ticks go, making sure you're checking frequently for ticks while you're outside, and then when you get home, make sure you do a real thorough check. Get behind the ears, in hair, along waistbands, stuff like that. Probably need to have somebody help you check for ticks, especially if you have long hair, stuff like that.
How strong, if we're going to spray ourselves, if we're going to spray for mosquitoes, will that also help repel other things such as ticks?
Yeah, so your insect repellent's kind of DEET is kind of the gold standard. That's the one that was going to be most effective for both of those. And typically you're going to want to use kind of the 20 to 30% DEET. The stuff that has more, a lot of times it doesn't last quite as long and just kind of dries out faster. So if you're looking for DEET, 20 to 30%, there's also stuff, picaridin, oil of lemon eucalyptus, a couple other active ingredients that will work as well.
the ag labs, including the one in Peoria, I believe, were essential in some of the early work on mosquito repellent. So there's a little nugget for you. Just bringing up the subject of ticks, I removed my headphones and ran my fingers through my hair. And it's just remarkable. Thankfully, I didn't find anything, but it's remarkable just how small some of these can really be.
Yeah, and we started talking about our deer ticks and stuff. Those can be the size of a poppy seed when they're nymphs. So CDC put out a tweet, I believe it was last year, with a lemon poppy seed muffin, and they put 5 ticks on there. And if you look at that picture, you really can't see them unless you're trying to find those ticks. They just kind of did that to show just how small some of these things can be and how difficult it would be to find them when they get on you.
Nice. That sounds like lice size. That sounds really small.
Yeah, even smaller than lice in some cases. So.
Gosh, wow. Well, I had one when I was a kid, and I still remember that moment when Mom found it and showed it to me. I mean, that's the kind of thing that gives you goosebumps or the shivers. You know what I mean? Yeah,
and especially when they get fully engorged, they get kind of creepy looking. They're just kind of a giant water balloon with legs, basically.
And a couple of times, in fact, next week, you'll be doing some presentations about this.
Yep. So we'll be doing one on May 22nd in Carrollton, or May 21st in Carrollton, and May 22nd in Jacksonville, both at 6 o'clock at the extension offices there.
All part of enjoying the outdoors, right?
Need to take some precautions, wearing insect repellent, kind of covering as much of your body as you can. If you're going to be wearing sunscreen with that, make sure you put your sunscreen on first, then your insect repellent. If you put that sunscreen on after, you're just covering up all that repellent, and it's not going to work very well either. So
that's a really good tip, because I would just rush through that, make sure the kids are done, and away you go. So that's a really good tip.
Sunscreen, then repellent.
Excellent. Ken, thanks so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
Ken Johnson, U of I Extension, serving Calhoun, Cass, Greene, Morgan, and Scott counties on RFD, Town and Country Partners.
Are you preparing for planting season? We don't mean to be a pest, but here's a few things you need to know before you grow. The Illinois Department of Agriculture now requires special local needs labels, including new restrictions for the use of herbicide dicamba on top of soybeans in Illinois for the 2019 growing season. Did you know these additional restrictions go beyond federally approved labels? Remember, the label is the law. To find out more about these Illinois-specific labels, visit ilfb.org/label-aware.
RFD Radio Network's Rita Frazier connects rural routes for you. Rita delivers passion and reliable information to listeners on the RFD Radio Network. Her radio career spans close to 3 decades. Here's a bit about her rural roots.
I grew up on a small farm. My job today allows me to connect with people from all walks of life and experience opportunity every day. I get to talk about what I love, farming.
Be it routes or roots, RFD Radio, FarmWeekNow.com, and Farm Week keep you connected.
Welcome to Jim Crowley Outdoors here on the RFD Radio Network. These hobbies of mine put a lot of miles on my truck. Illinois Farm Bureau members can save $500 on the purchase of a new Ford vehicle. For more details, go to ilfb.org or contact your local county farm bureau. Okay, a theme for all of us here in Illinois this year, especially if you're an angler, is reoccurring cold fronts. Oh, my goodness. From cold rain to snow again to cold rain to lots of wind and blowing rain. A buddy of mine fished a tournament last week, and he said, I had the trifecta of miserable. That is cold, dropping, muddy water. I think of the 25 boat tournaments, there was one fish weighed in. And it was just absolutely miserable. Somebody found a pocket of clear water is what they said, and actually was able to catch a 2-pound fish. That won the tournament, and big bass, $450. Not bad for one bite and one fish. What I'm getting at is it's been tough this spring, right? Any of you have been out crappie fishing and bass fishing. Some of you, I'm sure, have had some good days, but a lot of times it's really, really tough. And it gets really tough when it's cold and muddy water. Well, here's a couple things that I do. One, let's take a look at both types of water. So if it's clear water and it's cold and you have fronts like that, fish are probably going to suspend a lot in that clear water. I like to throw a jerk bait a lot and throw it really, really slow. I'm dropping down to a spinning rod, probably 8 to 10 pound line, and I'm letting a suspending jerk bait, whatever your brand, and I'm letting that bait sit. Now, I can use smaller sizes for crappies. I can use bigger size for largemouth bass. Now, when it comes to cold, muddy water, yeah, that gets tough. So there's a couple different things I'm going to do. I'm going to go old school on you here. And for a lot of you old bass guys, well, a big old single spin spinnerbait, maybe 3/8, half ounce with a big old single Colorado blade on that, and just thump that thing along really, really slow. You want a lot of vibration and you want a lot of water movement. With that, since it's going to be cold, muddy water, I'm probably going to be putting contrasting colors on there. Brown and orange, black and red, black and blue, black and chartreuse. I want something that's going to stand out and get a lot of vibration. Rattle baits are going to be another one. Half-ounce rattle bait. I'm probably going to go throw thicker monofilament on that. Why? Because I want that bait to stay up in the water column more. And maybe 15 or 20-pound test mono will help that bait stay up and not sink. I can reel it slower. And I want something going slow, making a lot of noise. For those of you guys who like chatterbaits, myself included, now I'm probably going to be throwing a 3/8 or a half-ounce chatterbait, putting a big trailer like a swim bait on the back of it or some kind of big craw on the back of it. I want something that's going to hold it up in the water column. These reoccurring cold fronts, they're tough. You can do it. You'll catch more fish.
Jim Crowley, Outdoors. Jim Taylor up next, RFD, Town & Country Partner.
Attention, Illinois farmers. You won't want to miss this field day at SIU Carbondale University Farms. It's your chance to hear from industry experts about ongoing research and how it will benefit your farm. Join us on June 26th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. with free lunch included. This is a joint effort of the SIU College of Agricultural Sciences, Illinois Nutrient Research and Education Council, and Illinois Farm Bureau. You must pre-register at IllinoisNREC.org and click on upcoming events.
Be it through headlines, microphones, or tweets, Mike Orso connects rural routes for you. Mike has been covering farm and food issues for more than 3 decades. Whether it's print, video, radio, or feeding your online appetite, Mike keeps you in the loop. Here's a bit about his rural roots.
I keep our communities, state, and country in mind with everything I do. My job allows me to work toward this mission with farmers and other rural Illinoisans.
Be it routes or roots, RFD Radio, FarmWeekNow.com, and Farm Week keep you connected.
Jim Taylor back on the RFD Radio Network. Time now for our weekly IHSA segment on Town and Country Partners.
Visiting with John Lawler. He is the head football coach of Alden Hebron High School up in northern Illinois, also the man behind the 8-man football movement in Illinois. And I guess, John Lawler, we begin our conversation today by saying that apparently 8-man football is not a fad. It is a thing, and it is here to stay. 15 teams now, I see, ready to suit up and play 8-man football next season. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right, Jim. Thanks for having me on again. But, yeah, we're up to 15 teams, and we've actually got 4 more teams already committed for next year. So you're right. It's not a fad. I think it's something that the smaller schools realize, to get their Friday night lights back and to save their football programs. This is a great option for them.
And I guess let's begin our conversation. I've asked you this before, but I want to front end this today and get you to talk about what is really the key question or questions that have to be asked in order to determine, hey, we need to proceed to 8-man football. I know one's got to be numbers. Do we have enough to field an 11-man team? But what are some of the other things that should be under consideration in order for a school, a co-op, a program to say, hey, we really need to maybe proceed in this direction?
Right. Well, and I know we have talked about that before, and I guess one of the main questions that always comes up, when a new school contacts me or one of the other guys is why did you make this choice? First off, it is numbers. When you're losing numbers, and I think the key is when you don't have enough kids in your program to maintain that lower level, that's when you start getting in trouble. And some of us have been there for years, when you start losing that lower level where those kids can't play against competition their own age and you're throwing them in spots where they really shouldn't be, it turns them away. It turns some of them away. I mean, the kids that are truly hungry to play football, yeah, they're going to go through that and take their lumps and keep on going. But you do tend to lose the other kids that are kind of on the fence. You know, they're unsure about it. So I think that's the biggest thing is this is it's kind of afforded us, the schools that have been playing, and I think the new ones coming in, a lot of them had that same question, you know, why? And I said, well, now we can play kids that are more ready to play, and we've come up with this fresh sophomores idea that Nate Albaugh come up with, and we're playing kids 4-on-4 against kids their own talent level, and boy, everybody's happy. The moms and dads are grinning from ear to ear. The kids are happy, and they're not out there getting beat up by an 18-year-old senior. And it's been just a fantastic move. And quite honestly, and I don't have all the facts, we're trying to gain facts every year with this, but it's a safer situation. I truly believe that. So I think that's the big key, you know, is knowing and looking in the mirror your own program and knowing when it's time to say, we can't go on like this anymore. We got to make a choice here.
Right.
That's the key.
So that's interesting. So to back up here, at basically the younger levels, you're talking about freshmen, sophomores. Did I hear you right? You said 4-on-4. How does that work?
4-on-4. We split the field basically in half again. So you're playing on a 20-yard wide field, and we shorten it up. So you're playing on basically 20 by 80, and you play 4-on-4 with the lower level kids. The kids that you know aren't probably going to get into that varsity 8-man game, and they get to play. We've been doing it as kind of our lead-in game, you know, for, you know, like the bigger schools do their sophomore game or their first soft game prior to their varsity game. We've been playing this as our lead-in game to our 8-man games. And the 4 or 5 teams that tried it last year, they're like, we love this. The kids love it. The parents love it. Everybody's happy. And it's definitely a safer situation for those kids. It's fun. You know, the rules are a little bit different. You know, the rules are more kind of towards the flag type thing. If a quarterback drops back to pass, he has to pass. He just can't take off and run because you've only got 4 kids on the field, you know, on each side. So it's kind of fun. And even the referees that have done those games, they come off smiling and grinning. They're like, that was kind of fun, you know. And I said, yeah. So it's kind of an option we've been toying with, and we'll have to mess with the rules a little bit more. You know, we've saw some things last year already that we kind of want to change, you know, as far as rules, but it's been a good experiment for us, you know.
Sounds like maybe the Lawler brothers back in the day played 4-on-4 football, maybe in the backyard.
I tell you what, that's exactly what it's like. It's like getting back to gathering the kids and going over to somebody's house and getting the barn lime out of the barn and putting lines on your front yard and mom's yelling at you and you're playing football. And that's what we're getting back to with this. And the kids love it.
All right.
The kids love it. The parents love it. And they're excited about football again.
All right. As you say, get the barn lime out. A lot of our listeners are saying, hey, let's get together and get a game going on.
Again, our conversation from earlier this week with John Lawler, the head football coach and athletic director at Alden Hebron High School, also the president of the Illinois 8-Man Football Association. 15 teams committed to play 8-man football in 2019, with more to follow in 2020. I'm Jim Taylor for the RFD Radio Network.
Thank you for joining us for RFD Town & Country Partners. Get out and enjoy Illinois.